she couldn't force people to write the stories that she wanted them to write. So therefore, she left to get privacy so that she could write the stories in her own.
January 2026 didn't just start. It blew up online after brand new yacht photos dropped that Meghan Markle allegedly thought were buried for good. These aren't the same old pics people have been arguing over for years, not recycled screenshots or blurry re-uploads. This is fresh content, never before seen shots that popped up out of nowhere and sent social media into panic mode. What stings people most is what the photos seem to show Meghan in ultra-private, high-end spaces she's never publicly talked about, never explained, and now voices tied to Middle Eastern high society circles are suddenly getting louder about what they claim they've known quietly for years about her pre-royal networking move.
Where do you go from here? What do you become after this? You get the picture. Now, this is the reason why many people understand the marriage, shall we say, has hit one of those...
According to several people who say they move in those Gulf region elite circles, Meghan wasn't just wandering into random rich people events. They claim she was intentional, building connections in Monaco and across the Mediterranean, sliding into rooms usually reserved for serious money and real power. These weren't casual little trips, and they definitely weren't open parties anyone could just walk into. The leaked shots allegedly show Meghan on private yacht meetups next to extremely influential players from Saudi Arabia and other big money nations, the kind of faces that never end up tagged on Instagram. Put together, those scenes look a lot like strategic networking, not random coincidence, and not something you can just shrug off with a cute PR line. And the craziest part is how quiet these alleged links have stayed in mainstream talk until now. People are asking why. If these circles knew about this for so long, it never hit the public radar. The timing of this leak has everyone side-eyeing motives, because it lands right when Meghan is pushing a polished comeback through Netflix deals and lifestyle branding. Then suddenly this old-era material drops right back into the mix.
Knew that you wanted to go back to LA and that Canada was always going to be a pit stop. From the very beginning, this woman orchestrated leaving the royal family because all she's ever wanted in her life was to be an A-lister in Hollywood. She did not have the talent to become an A-lister in Hollywood. She was relegated to a D-list actress spot on a show called Suits that nobody in America had seen, but apparently which Prince Harry.
Somebody clearly wants those past ties dragged back under the spotlight again, challenging the softer image being sold right now and making people rethink the story. Comment sections are going wild with one risky question that keeps popping up over and over, simple but heavy at the same time. Who leaked these images? And the big question people are whispering now is, what else might still be tucked away? Because if this much surfaced in one hit, many believe there's more sitting on hard drives waiting. The moment those photos landed on social platforms, things moved fast. This wasn't the same old yacht talk people got bored of years back. These shots look like they came from personal collections held tight until somebody finally hit upload. And once that happened, it was out of anyone's control.
There have been lots of scandals which have never come out, I'm told, and the palace have been able to shut them down. So I think the belief is that they can shut these scandals down, and it's only when the scandals emerge that they have to put Plan B into practice. So, and I think if that's the case, then that could be very damaging if that's around.
The images show Meghan in Monaco and other Mediterranean hotspots during her pre-royal years, wrapped in serious luxury private yachts, designer fits, champagne moving around decks worth tens of millions, and faces in the background that international business watchers say they recognize straight away. Within hours, social media had slipped into full breakdown mode, with threads, stitches, and reaction videos dropping nonstop. New hashtags pushed to the top. TikTok creators started doing frame-by-frame breakdowns, and Twitter users began linking old rumors to new screenshots at high speed. The photos spread quickly because they seem to show a side of her story that almost never gets talked about directly. What really separates these pics from all the old arguments is how sharp they are. These aren't guesses based on shadows and reflections. People online say these photos clearly place Meghan in settings she's never really spoken on, sparking specific questions about who was around her, what kind of lifestyle she was moving in, and how much quiet influence was in the room. The conversation is no longer about vague theories. People are asking how a working actress was already inside circles like this, who lined up those invites, and why those connections stayed on the low for so long. Now, sources who claim ties to elite international networks say these images match what they've been hinting at for years. According to them, Meghan wasn't just showing up on yachts for fun. They suggest she was moving inside an established networking circuit built around power, access, and positioning at the top. This is the kind of world where serious connections get built in silence, between international heavyweights and people who know how to move smart in elite spaces. One source who's worked around these circles broke it down very clearly. They said these networks are all about relationship building, staying polished, showing up as the right kind of company at high-end events, flying to lockdown locations, and keeping strict discretion about who you see and why you're really there. This isn't casual hanging out, this is top-tier networking.
Did that on her own? Show me royals who have this kind of photo? What? See, the thing is, Meghan, if you need to Photoshop pictures, but then you get mad at your haters because we're calling out your Photoshopped pictures.
And during Meghan's so-called struggling actress era, she fit that profile a little too neatly unknown to most people, ambitious, and suddenly showing up in ultra-exclusive international circles that looked way beyond what her reported income could realistically cover. Access like that doesn't just fall into someone's lap out of nowhere. People who move in those spaces say introductions are never random. Someone opens the door, someone vouches, and someone decides you bring value to that room. That's the system. That's the game. And insiders are now insisting Meghan didn't just stumble into that world by chance. Here's the part mainstream outlets are completely avoiding. Sources now claim these new yacht photos didn't come from outsiders scrolling old files or from a random collector. They allegedly came from inside those elite networks, from someone with direct access, receipts, and firsthand knowledge of who Meghan was meeting and how those links were put together. And if that's accurate, it flips the whole story, because if one insider chose to leak photos, people are asking what else they might be sitting on. What other records, images, or detailed notes could exist about how Meghan actually built her path toward power and influence behind the scenes? In those quiet international conversations, the talk is way more precise than the vague public rumors. These photos allegedly place Meghan at private events where Saudi and Gulf state figures were present, at the exact same locations, at the exact same time. Not just random overlap, not just coincidence according to these insiders. It's the same yachts, the same invite-only events, and the same well-known facilitators who specialize in arranging exclusive introductions between global power players. Think about how locked down those worlds really are. You do not just stroll onto private yacht decks with international royalty and billionaires. You get picked, you get invited, because somebody with status vouches for you and decides you are worth bringing into that circle. That is how those circles protect themselves and control who gets through the door.
Meghan Markle, I think she was 35 or 30 when she came into the royal family. She'd had a life, she was an actress, she'd been married before, so she was pretty much clued up. And I think what's happened is she's come into the royal family and this archaic system has tried to control her and say, you will do this, you will do that, you will not go here.
What jumps out in the photos now spreading online is how relaxed Meghan looks in those settings. Not stiff, not confused, not like someone who just lucked into a golden ticket. She looks like someone who understands the rules, the expectations, and the quiet trade happening in that space. People who say they know these environments are now talking more openly and claiming that during Meghan's so-called yacht years, she built ongoing networking ties with figures linked to Saudi and Gulf state elite circles. They describe more than quick meet-and-greet moments. They talk about repeat contact, travel, private events, and strict silence around who was there and what was discussed. That kind of detail has people paying attention because ongoing relationships hint at planning, consistency, and trust inside those networks.
I think she was scared of coming back to this country, and quite rightly, because the people of this country don't like the fact that she's stolen our prince. And she's literally brainwashed him, blinkered him, and tied him down to his California.
Then you line that up with what these new images are said to show photos dated between 2008 and 2012, right in the middle of Meghan's struggling actress period, when reports say she was barely staying afloat in Los Angeles. Yet those photos allegedly place her on luxury yachts in Monaco and across Mediterranean spots known for drawing international billionaires and power brokers, especially around 2010, when new shots show her at yacht events during the same window, where Saudi and Gulf state figures were said to be regular faces on the scene. Same Monaco views, same elite marinas, and the same fixers people online linked to connecting global business networks.
This is really bad security. This is all in a desperate bid for headlines and for Harry to say, oh, see, we need security even in the U.S. This is disgusting. They should be investigated.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's incredible how desperate Meghan Markle is to be compared to Princess Diana in a desperate bid to chase headlines.
That pattern is what has many viewers asking questions that do not just fade after a news cycle. Then 2011 hits and suddenly Meghan lands Suits, and this is where a lot of people start giving the timeline a side eye. To some fans, it does not look like a slow climb through years of normal Hollywood casting grind. For them, the timing between those alleged high-level networking years and her breakout role feels a little too neat, keeping the debate around these photos alive. Industry people often say most actors grind for years just to land a solid role, and that is why this one still stands out to them. The way Meghan locked in that Suits role has never been fully broken down, even by insiders. Now, with these new yacht photos circulating, that silence feels louder, because what do the images hint at? Years of quiet, calculated networking with people who had real pull, people who could make calls, open doors, and shift opportunities behind the scenes. Moves like that do not happen in a vacuum. Jump to 2016, when Meghan is introduced to Harry through Marcus Anderson in Soho House, and suddenly the timeline starts to line up in people's minds. By that point, she had a decade of practice operating inside elite spaces. She was not new to power rooms. She already knew how to handle influence, how to carry herself as an asset, and how to build relationships that matter. That is why many people online say, this was not random luck, this was preparation. The newly leaked photos back that idea up because they make one thing stand out. She does not look like someone crashing random parties just to have fun. There is a pattern across the years, multiple yacht settings, and the same type of high-level international figures showing up again and again. That is consistency. And consistency like that usually points towards strategy, not chance. Here is the part most people are only hinting at instead of saying straight.
Her father was giving her money and car, and helping her get auditions. And I mean, what do you think? I mean, does it really just the money, or do you think it's fame?
Well, I mean, it's both, because if you think about it, you're not making that much on Deal or No Deal, right? But it was a national television show. It was on NBC. It was a network. You're there.
These images did not just fall out of the sky. Someone sat on them, then chose a specific moment to drop them right as Meghan is working on a rebrand, pushing lifestyle projects and Netflix content, and trying to keep older chapters of her story in the background. Whoever leaked the photos clearly wanted pressure. They waited until Meghan probably believed those yacht networking years were far behind her, until she thought there was no proof left, no new material that could connect dots. Then suddenly, brand new images no one had seen before show up online, and the timing alone feels like a message. To many observers, this does not come across as random at all. The whole situation feels calculated, like quiet warning shots being fired. Almost like someone is saying, "We know more than you think," without ever posting a single caption. That strongly suggests somebody inside those high-level international circles got tired of Meghan's version of the story, tired of watching the past get reshaped when they believe they know exactly how those connections really came together. Maybe it is someone she crossed along the way. Maybe it is a person trying to keep powerful families from getting pulled into public drama. Maybe it is someone who simply thinks the real timeline matters more than any polished public image. Whatever the reason, the way these photos came out looks deliberate, not random. If fresh yacht shots are dropping in January 2026, long after Meghan stepped away from that world, then whoever leaked them has been patient, playing the slow game and waiting for the right moment. Someone held on to those receipts, sat on the evidence, and then chose to release it when it would hit hardest. That is the uncomfortable reality these images bring.
I like to think that Meghan would like that. Meghan likes to be number one. Meghan does not simply degrade Prince Harry. She degrades his entire family, his entire legacy. And this is a different kind of embarrassment. She has mocked his heritage, his traditions, his grandmother, the former Queen of England, and it seems like she did so.
Meghan spent years keeping her yacht networking era low-key. She dodged that topic, dismissed questions, and painted a lot of the criticism as pure hate from people who never liked her. But photos from private collections changed the conversation because they put her exactly where sources said she was, doing exactly what they described. That is not just rumor anymore. That is visual documentation, and Meghan's reaction so far has been total silence. No context, no explanation, no statement from her team addressing what the photos actually show, even while the images race through every major platform. That silence is making people talk even more. It gives the sense she is hoping the noise dies down, that people get bored, that the pictures fade out of the feeds before she ever has to explain how a struggling actress was living that lifestyle and building those kinds of relationships. Because if these newly leaked photos were simple to explain or clearly harmless, her team would usually be out front already, spinning the story. they would be saying this is the full context, this is who invited her, this is why it was normal professional networking. Instead, there is nothing. Just full radio silence, and that silence is starting to sound very loud to people watching from the outside. That silence tells people one thing: it raises questions Meghan clearly does not want to address in public. Questions about networking moves she has never really broken down or owned. So slow it down and look at what is actually on the table. Brand new yacht photos surfacing in January 2026, showing Meghan around international elite circles during the exact years she was described as a struggling actress. That alone has people curious. First big question people are asking online: who was paying for that lifestyle? A cable TV actress on basic checks does not usually have spare cash for Mediterranean yacht events with global power players, so someone had to be covering travel, access, and presence at those closed gatherings. The natural follow-up is simple: who funded it, and what was the understanding behind that access? Second question: how did she get into those rooms in the first place? You do not just walk into private invite-only events with international figures. Someone has to arrange that. Someone has to vouch, introduce, and frame you as worth bringing around those circles. So viewers want to know who made that call and why. Third question: what did those networking relationships actually involve? The photos show private yachts, small closed-off settings, and very controlled environments. That is not casual mingling at open industry parties. It looks more like focused, professional-level networking with influential people. So how deep did those links really go, and what was discussed? Fourth question: how does this all connect to her career climb? On paper, she goes from a struggling actress to landing suits, then later meets Prince Harry through Soho House connections, all after years allegedly moving in elite international spaces. People are asking who opened which doors, and how much of that came from earlier relationships instead of standard casting routes.
Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life. And there is no doubt that she studied Princess Diana. She studied her mannerisms towards Harry when he was a boy, and the way that she grabs her face. And this is the psychopathic elements of what she does, putting a pregnancy text next to Princess Diana's hair, saying that she put her hands on the grave to have a conversation with her, bursting in.
Then there is the fifth question that keeps trending: who is leaking these photos now, and what is their motive? These images were private for over a decade, then suddenly they are everywhere in January 2026. That looks intentional. Someone chose this moment to drag that chapter of her past back into focus. These are not random rumors. They are direct questions sparked by new images, and Meghan's decision to stay quiet is exactly what keeps those questions running. Meghan is in the middle of a full makeover right now. A big rebrand with Netflix projects, lifestyle products, and a whole push to step away from royal drama and sell herself as authentic, relatable, and inspiring. Then, out of nowhere, fresh receipts drop new yacht photos showing her past networking with international elite circles. Shots that look like her building relationships around serious money and influence, pointing to a strategic networking path she has never really talked about in public. And people are now asking how that fits into the story being sold. How does that line up with the real, down-to-earth image her team is pushing? How does it match the relatable message aimed at everyday women? How does it sit next to the idea that her success was built purely off hard work and talent alone with no extra help? Because these new photos hit that storyline hard. They do not say she had no drive, but they do suggest her rise was not only about determination. They point toward calculated networking inside elite international circles during those yacht years. To keep it fair, networking itself is not a problem. That is how a lot of industries move. Meeting people, building contacts, and making connections is normal. The issue is how different that looks from the self-made narrative she has been promoting. The story of having no advantages, no access, no one opening doors. And here is what makes this even tougher for her image-wise. These leaks show that somebody held onto this material for a long time. Just watching and waiting for the moment when dropping it would have the biggest effect. That means Meghan's public narrative has always been a bit fragile, always one serious leak away from being questioned. As long as new evidence keeps slipping out, she never fully controls the story, because every new photo adds a piece of history she chose not to talk about openly. Once those images are on the internet, they are not going anywhere. And that brings us to why the international angle in these photos stands out so much. Elite social circles tied to Middle Eastern royalty and Gulf state power players treat discretion like a rule. What happens on those yachts is usually meant to stay quiet, which is exactly why these leaks have everyone paying extra attention. Discretion is supposed to be permanent in those worlds. That's the unspoken rule, and everyone inside those circles understands it. So if brand new photos are leaking now, allegedly showing Meghan tied to those spaces, people feel like something in that system clearly shifted. When sources who used to stay quiet suddenly start talking more openly about her networking past with international elite figures, it looks like the usual protection has slipped, and that alone has everyone paying attention. That change makes it seem like something broke the silence. Maybe her public storytelling clashes too hard with details some insiders say they know privately. Maybe it is ongoing family drama playing out in the press while her own early history stays mostly untouched. Or maybe she simply became too visible, too polarizing, and too risky for certain people to quietly shield anymore. Whatever the reason, if international insiders are really allowing these yacht photos to surface, and if they are no longer blocking conversations that used to be off limits, it signals Meghan may have lost a layer of protection that kept this era locked away for years. And once that kind of discretion is gone, there is no easy way to snap it back in place. If people inside those circles stop keeping everything on the low, the next question is obvious: what else could show up? What other photos are sitting in private archives? What records, messages, or old travel notes might still be tucked away? According to people who claim to know how these networks operate, these yacht leaks might just be the opening move. Whoever chose to share this piece of her networking history most likely did not stop at a handful of pictures. They could be testing the waters, watching how the public reacts, and deciding what, if anything, to bring out next. That might mean more photos, more specific travel details, screenshots of event invitations, or proof of carefully arranged introductions. It could even mean on-the-record stories from people who say they were in the room and watched how those high-end networking strategies played out in real time. For Meghan, the options are tight right now. She can stay quiet and let the questions stack up day after day, or she can speak up and risk even more attention on chapters she has never fully explained in public. Either way, the pressure rises. Her rebrand runs into real resistance because these yacht images do not just poke at the story she has been presenting, they push hard on her whole claim of openness and transparency. Fresh evidence is now on the table, and it points to a whole networking chapter Meghan has never really broken down in public, which means her image is getting picked apart from angles she can't fully control anymore. The big question hanging over everything is simple but heavy: does more evidence drop next? Or does it stop here with these yacht photos already cracking open a door she probably wanted sealed for good? These are new images, allegedly pulled from private collections and dropped in January 2026 by someone who clearly knows the story. Someone who looks done protecting silence. Someone who seems ready to show what her yacht networking era with international elite figures actually looked like, not just the version heard in interviews. And her response so far has been the same: silence, no context, no breakdown, no real attempt to walk people through what they're seeing, just a quiet hope that the questions cool off while the images keep spreading. That does not read like confidence to many people watching. It looks more like someone trying to ride out the storm instead of stepping up and clearing the air. If you've been following this and have your own thoughts, drop them in the comments and join the conversation. If this breakdown made you look at things differently, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives. And don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it. We'll see you on the next one.